Yes. So we're going through the chapter of tayammum. So we established that for tayammum to be considered valid, there are 8 conditions. We went over the conditions the week before last. So just to quickly review them, first condition is that there has to be intention. And intention over here means that a person must know that I'm doing tayammum. It doesn't need to be verbalized. And also, when one intends to do tayammum, then at the time of performing tayammum, when you're touching the hands to the ground or to the soil, to the earth, then you should have that intention that I'm doing this for such and such purpose, to make the salat, which was otherwise prohibited for me, permissible. There are 3 conditions that make the intention valid. Islam, the ability to discern between what is right, what is wrong, and wal-ilm bima yanwihi. And also, one should have knowledge and awareness of what is being intended. Right? So a person must know that I'm doing tayammum for such and such purpose. Also, ويشترط لصحة نية التيمم للصلاة به أحد 3 أشياء. So the author is saying to validate the niyyah, the tayammum for salat, it's a condition, it's a requisite that one of the 3 things has to be there. So imma niyatul tahara, that one has to intend purification from an unclean state, أو استباحة الصلاة, that one intends the tayammum to make the salat permissible, right? أو نية إبادة مقصودة لا تصير بدون طهارة. So a person has to attend a specific type of worship, and worship specifically that requires purity, that requires tahara. Which means فَلَا يُصَلِّ بِهِ إِذَا نَوَى التَّيَمُّمْ فَقَطْ. A person can't pray if he only intends tayammum. Right? You can't just do tayammum and start praying. No. A person when doing tayammum has to have that awareness, that ability that I'm doing this tayammum to offer salat, which was not permissible for me in the state of impurity. So that niyyah has to be there. A person does niyyah just for tayammum, but he doesn't have that awareness that I'm doing this for salat, then that salat would not count if performed with that specific tayammum. And also, nawahu li qira'at al-Quran wa lam yakun junuban, or he does niyyah for tayammum to recite the Quran, and he's not in the state of janaba, because to recite the Quran, you don't need purity just to recite the Quran. You can recite the Quran if a person does not have wudu. You can just recite the Quran, no problem. It is not permissible to recite Quran in the state of janaba, in the state of greater impurity. So if a person does tayammum just for the recitation of Quran, then that tayammum would not be considered if a person offers salat with it. Follow? Okay, so to move on, الثاني, the second, العذر المبيح للتيمم كبعده ميلا عن ماء ولو في مصر. So now it's going through the conditions. The second condition that permits the tayammum, that makes the tayammum valid, right, is if a person is distant from water to the extent of 1 mile, even if it's in the city. Right? There might be a water shortage, or there might be some issue with the municipal water. Perhaps it's polluted, right? And the municipal water, it's more than 1 mile. So at that time, in a situation such as this, you would do tayammum. Or for example, there might be a warning that this water it has to be boiled or something along those lines. Right? So in this kind of situation, it's permissible to do tayammum. Okay. وَحُصُولُ مَرَضٍ وَبَرْدٍ يَخَافُ مِنْهُ التَّلْفِ. Okay. So it's saying over here, the author is saying that if there's a fear that a person could become ill, right? Or it's cold, it's very cold, that there's a possibility that if water is used, then a limb might fall off. You might get hypothermia or something, and limb might fall off. يَخَافُ مِنْهُ التَّلْفِ أَوِ الْمَرْضِ وَخَوْفُ عَدُوٍ. Or there's a fear that there's an enemy where the water is. So in such a situation, or for example, عطش, or excessive thirst, and you only have enough water to satisfy the thirst. Okay? So in this kind of situation, tayammum would be permissible. Similarly, وَإِحْتِيَاجِ لِعَجْنٍ. Also, if there is a need to use the water to make dough, for baking something or anything along those lines, you can do tayammum. لا لِطَبْخِ مَرْقٍ. But also one cannot use this water. So if there's enough water just for making the dough, then you can do tayammum, right, and use that water for dough. But if the water is going to be used to make soup, then this is not a necessity, because a person can live without soup. You can use the water for baking and stuff, but you don't need to use water for soup. Also, وَلِفَقْدِ آلَةٍ. So let's say you're in a rural area and you don't see any water, but then you come across a well. But that well doesn't have a bucket. It doesn't have a bucket. So how are you going to get down into the well? So the Sharia doesn't compel you that, no, you got to go down and you have to put yourself in harm to get water. No. So in that kind of situation, you can avoid going into the well and just perform tayammum. وَخَوْفَ فَوْتِ صَلَاةِ جَنَازَةٍ عِيدٍ. And also if there's a fear that the janazah salat might be missed. Because if you go into the masjid, do wudu, right? Sometimes janazah salat becomes full. Right? You don't have time to do wudu. So in that kind of situation, do tayammum and perform the janazah. Same thing with the Eid. Because there's no substitute for these prayers. You can't offer them again. So the janazah and the Eid salah, if there is a situation where, if you offer the Eid, if you don't offer the Eid salat with the imam, there's a possibility you're going to miss it if you were to go and do wudu. So in that kind of situation, just do tayammum and offer the Eid salat. Okay. وَلَوْ بِنَا. Also, if a person begins the funeral and Eid with the imam, he starts with the imam and then the wudu breaks. He can do tayammum. He doesn't have to do wudu. He can do tayammum and he can complete the same prayer with the imam. وَلَيْسَ مِنَ الْعُذْرِ. But tayammum would not be valid, for example, if there's a possibility of missing Jumu'ah. Why? Jumu'ah has a substitute, Dhuhr. If you miss Jumu'ah, you do Dhuhr. Very easy, right? Because there's a substitute. Wal-waqt. Also, you're not going to do tayammum if you're losing time. Let's say it's the time for Asr is about to end. Okay, the time for Asr is about to end. So if you were to do wudu, you're going to miss your Asr. So even in that kind of scenario, you can't do tayammum. Why? Because there's a substitute for Asr. Qada. You're going to have to do Qada. And it's your fault for delaying it to that extent. So this completes the second section, the second condition, and inshallah we'll continue with the third next week.
What about because of for example, Fajr,
Same thing with Fajr.
You wake up late.
Same thing. Because there's substitute. Any salat that has a substitute, right? And that substitute means that even if there's a qada for that salat, then you can't do tayammum, even if the time is less. But if the salat doesn't have a substitute, like Eid, once it's done, there's no substitute. You can't do it again. Unless there's an Eid salat in another locality, right? Or janazah. So in that kind of situation, you can do it. Because there's no substitute for that. There's no second janazah salat. There's no second Eid salat.
if the water is not available.
Yes.
In a situation where you have to buy water, like you have to pay for water, like
Even in that situation, you can do tayammum.
no.
Yeah. So even in that kind of situation, if you have to pay for the water, and there's not adequate water, yes, you can do tayammum. Or just generally, if you have to pay for water, you can do tayammum.
You mentioned here the distance about a mile.
A mile, yeah.
So meaning, but current condition.
1 mile radius.
Condition is you have a car,
Yeah. So over here, you would estimate a mile. So you don't have to walk a mile every single direction, right, left, north, south, west, east. You don't have to walk, a mile in every single direction. You should apply. One will apply their mind that, okay, I'm not finding water over here. He moves a little bit north, south, east, west. Okay, it seems like there is no water close by. Or there's a possibility, I'm not going to go knocking on people's doors because they might take me as, someone strange, or they might call the police on me. In that kind of situation, you can just do tayammum.
And any.
I don't think anybody is going to a guy with a hat and by knocking on their door. What's this guy doing over here?
Even though the time is still early, for example, for the Zohor, it's still 1 o'clock.
You can wait. You can delay. You can delay it. You can delay it until there is enough time to do 4 rakats, and you've done your best to try to find water. At that time, do tayammum and do your 4 rakats.
Now, if you not delay, what I'm saying is, you couldn't find the water, and then at 1 o'clock, and then you start praying.
That's fine.
That's fine, so.
Yeah, that's fine too.
And then after that, I think you mentioned that after that you